everybody. This is JJ French from Twisted Sister, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that reading the outline of your book, I had no idea that you were such an integral part of Twisted Sister. Obviously, I know who you are and that you were in the band, but I didn't really realize that you were leading the band. How did that come about?
By default, over time. I was one of the 5 original members. That fell apart after 2 years. There was another version that fell apart after a year. There was another version that fell apart. And as the parts were falling apart, I kept rebuilding it. And that's what the book essentially is about, the art of reinvention. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. What entrepreneurs do is they either create something that's never been seen before and are willing to risk everything in their life to show the world that, or they want to improve an existing model. Well, there was an existing model of rock bands before Twisted Sister, but we wanted to improve on one, which was the Dolls, which we all thought were just the worst, and thought, it could be a better version of the Dolls, and so that was the catalyst that started it all.
Oh, that's so cool. I remember when I was, I can't even remember, I must have been like 10, maybe 8, really young. And you guys were on tour with Iron Maiden during the Peace of Mind tour, I think it was.
Yeah, that was 13 years after I started the band.
Wow.
So the band's celebrating its 49th anniversary this December.
That's crazy.
I'm not trying to make it seem like a long time ago, because to me it seems like yesterday. My parents wouldn't let me go into the show because I was too young. But I remember sitting in in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I was sitting in the on the side where the gangway where you could buy merch and everything, and I could hear you guys playing, and I just couldn't that was almost more of a stimulating experience than seeing the show at that age, because all I could think about was, man, I've seen them on MTV. It must be crazy right now. What was it? Was that like a real breakthrough moment for you guys when you got on that tour?
The band had already been together for years and played thousands of shows, so to us it was just another show, another gig. I mean, it was good to have the tour, but the album had already broken by that point. The album was already platinum by the time the tour started. So we were well on our way. My father had died the day the album went platinum, which was October 21st, 84. We didn't start that tour until I think after Thanksgiving. And that tour went on for about 6 months. And it was a great tour, without a doubt. Canada was a phenomenal market for the band. But, the band had already been through so much that, to me, it was, I don't want to diminish the impact, because we knew what the impact was, but how it affected us, or me personally, versus how it affected somebody else was very, very different. To me, it wasn't a coming out. I mean, I already, like I said, I had probably played over 6,000 performances at that point, me personally. Wow. Going back to 73, so, it was another show, and the band was really great and live, and really great live, so we knew exactly what we were doing. But in terms of nights where I went, oh my God, or situations I went, oh my God, there were plenty of other ones that had that feeling. That one wasn't it. That was just let's get this tour going, because there's another tour coming in, another one coming in, another one coming in, another one coming in, another one coming. However, Canada per capita, it was one of the biggest, most successful countries for the band. So I don't know if you know, but you sell 10% of the record you sell in America and Canada. So if you sell 1 million, you sell 100,000 in Canada.
Absolutely.
But we've sold, I think, we sold 700,000.
Wow.
In Canada, which far exceeds the 1,000,000-to-1 ratio of Stay Hungry to the United States. So I cannot, Much Music really just fell in love with Twisted Sister. And we were one of the few bands that did. And when Much Music fell in love with an American band, they really fell in love with an American band, because by law, you guys were restricted to just showing a certain small percentage of American, non-Canadian music. And we realized we got in there.
Yeah, it's actually more like you have to play 15% Canadian content.
I think back in then it was even more.
Oh, wow.
Not that many bands. Well, we were told how fortunate it was that we broke through this very, very tight curtain. And so we had it was an amazing time for sure. You know, I do remember that tour extremely well. It was the coldest weather I'd ever experienced in my life. I got to Winnipeg. I didn't know, the only thing good about 40 below zero, I guess, is that there's no drug dealers outside, you know, because it's so fucking cold. I mean, when I saw the temperature on the bank thermometer across the street from the hotel when we came in, and it said 40 below, I made a joke. I went, that's not really 40 below. And they went, oh, it is 40 below. And when we walked outside, between the bus and the hotel, I got a freezer burn on my arm, and that was exposing it for about 30 seconds. So I said to myself, man, you people are out of your freaking mind. How does one, and I realized, how does one handle it? Well, I got to Edmonton. You had the largest mall I'd ever seen in my life. In that mall, and I said, well, that's obviously what happens is, you know, you do everything in the mall. You live there, you ice skate there, you go to the circus there. Who the hell wants to be outside? Oh my God. It was really amongst the most, you know, I do, like I say, plus, do you remember Terry Fox, the guy who had cancer that walked across Canada? We passed his caravan on that tour.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No. We drove by the Terry Fox. He had a Winnebago. He had a support team with him.
Yeah.
And we passed it. And I said, wow, man, we're passing Terry Fox. I read about that guy.
Oh, it's unbelievable what he was doing.
I also bought the warmest coat. Wait a minute. Let me just continue. Because I was so cold, I bought the warmest coat in my life in Edmonton at a mall. It was made out of rabbit. And that sucker lasted me for like 20 years. And people said, man, that's the warmest coat. I said, yeah, well, it's from Canada. And they know cold, man. Trust me. No shit, man. That coat just eventually died on me, but it was the greatest investment of my life. People said to me, really, would you buy a car, to houses? I said, no, I bought a fucking rabbit coat in Canada. Best damn coat I ever owned in my life.
Nice. Great.
Oh my God. You're reminding me of why I moved to Vancouver, you know, so many years ago, because I had to get the hell out of that cold. Now I'm in DC, but I'm in the States now, but man, oh man, it's cold. He's not like
it's cold, dude, it's cold.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like my parents were like, are you going to come home for Christmas? I'm like, hell no.
But I gotta tell you something even weirder, right? So many years later, when the reunited tour, when the band got back together in 2003, we played a festival in Edmonton. That was a two-week music festival, because you guys, that's what you do in like Europe and Canada. You have these 2-week events, and it was in the parking lot of the hockey arena there, as a matter of fact. And so we get on the bill. And I believe the head pins were on the bill, you know, like all these weird acts. It was a 2-week-long affair. Anyway, we pull in to the parking lot, and we get into our trailer. And it was in August, you know, and I get out of the trailer, and I'm walking around. I'm looking at the trailer directly across the trailer park from us, like maybe 30 feet. And there's a sign on the door, and it said Bob the Builder. and I thought, oh, that must be an alternative band out of, you know, Edmonton. You know, Bob the Builder sounds like an alternative band, you know?
Yeah.
So I say to some security guard, I go, so, well, who's this band, Bob the Builder? They go, it's not a band. It's a guy who's got a kiddie show on TV. And I went,
wow.
A guy's got a kiddie show on TV? And we're playing on the same bill?
That's like Spinal Tap.
He's on now. And I went, what do you mean he's on now? And he goes, yeah, he's on now. Walk over to the arena. So I walk over to the arena, go backstage, and there's the guy doing his whole Bob the Builder shtick with 20,000 little 5-year-old kids in the audience with parents. And I had a heart attack. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? We're going on after Bob the Builder? Yeah, you gotta be kidding me. And the promoter comes over and goes, no. Trust me. There's 4 hours before you guys go on, and there's plenty of dirt bags here. will come in.
Oh my God.
And so I put on a hoodie and walked around, and there was like 100,000 people in that, the whole area there, and there was plenty of our people, And thankfully, the Bob the Builder people filtered out, and our people came in. Otherwise, I was gonna have a heart attack. So
Wow.
That must have been Klondike days, probably, where they took.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, crazy. That is.
Yeah, like around 2007, 2008, somewhere around there.
Yeah, you're bringing me way back here.
So, when people say, how do you remember these things? You remember certain things. There's traumatic experiences in your life,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I would imagine that would be fairly traumatic. It's like, holy fuck, am I reliving Spinal Tap?
Well, as I write about in the book, the worst gig we ever did was we played on a bill with a chimpanzee named Mr. Jiggs. And actually, we opened for Mr. Jiggs.
Oh my God!
And he went over better than we did. So
nice. So, talking about the book, we could bring this back to the book for a second, because that's why we're here, I guess. So, when I was reading the book, I think the thing that stood out to me the most was your approach or your perspective on assholes in the business. And I actually highlighted a quote here that I think is probably one of my favorites out of it. One of my pet peeves in the business has always been those dysfunctional people whose lives are dedicated to making other people miserable. I hate them, they destroy people, and they do not cultivate love. How did you come about that perspective? Because that's a whole different perspective than... I know you talk about your wife's... You went to a seminar with your wife. Is that pretty much where it ended up?
Well, I mean, I just don't run my business that way, know. And as I ran into scumbags in the business, and most of them were record executives who were way worse than musicians.
Right.
Way worse. They had a lot more power, and they were a lot more dysfunctional, and they were really brutally horrible human beings. I realized that they're like beaten children. So they get beaten, and then they have to beat people. They think it makes them feel better. And the problem with dysfunctional people is that their success, they lay directly to their dysfunction. So it just emboldens them to be more pricky than they are. And I just, choose to not have to inflict that kind of stupidity on me.
Right.
If it's avoidable, because they're just awful human beings. So, what's interesting is you brought that piece up, because a lot of people bring different things in the book up to me as they interview
Sure.
me. You're the first person to key in on that one. But that was how Steve Farber, my co-writer, and I kind of met on the grounds of that phrase, because his books are all about love in the workplace, and love is just damn good business, and that's what Steve does. So we kind of hit it off that way, and he just was surprised it was coming from a heavy metal musician, and I said, well, because I'm not really a heavy metal musician, I'm a business guy who happens to play in a heavy metal band.
Right.
It's a difference. I'm not really a musician. I'm a businessman who plays guitar, and that's a distinction that I became more aware of as time went on.
I think that that is so different from the normal business model, especially like growing up when probably around your age, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. That was the typical sleazebag promoter, sleazebag, whatever. And when you approach it this way, it's a whole different, it opens up a whole different thing. And I think it's even more relevant nowadays, right? With the way the music business has changed and how fucked up everything is.
Well, every business is fucked up.
Yeah.
And the music business is just another fucked up business. I mean, and every business is fucked up, and when you get your ass kicked by it, it's really fucked up. Doesn't matter what business it is. My book is about reinvention. It's about teaching you how to survive life, and then hopefully you'll be around long enough to take advantage of the shit when the time comes. And it turns around on you. But there's so many people that have stories to tell about how badly they've been abused. And music business was run by thieves and marketed by thieves and corruption, and but so were a lot of other businesses.
Right.
The question is, how much are you going to learn about it, and what are you going to do about it? So I've always said there's three kinds of people in this world: the people who make it happen, the people who watch it happen, and the people who go, what happened? And 99% of the people who go, what happened? And those are the people that get their ass kicked, all the time. And there's people who watch it happen and people who make it happen. And I always swore I'd be one of those two. I would never be what happened. So everything that happened to the band, good, bad, or whatever, every disaster that happened to the band, every issue that came crashing down on us was not necessarily a shock to me. Our response to it, however, was novel in that we approached the response in a very kind of logical manner. And we didn't do it deliberately that way. I didn't know I was going to write a book. When I joined the band, I was simply a guitar player. I certainly wasn't a business guy. Although I was a drug dealer as a teenager, so I had basic business
Right.
skills, And those business skills did serve me well because I was able to deal drugs in Europe while converting multiple currencies while on acid. So I guess I was, multitasking came early.
Yeah.
But drug dealing is a people business, and you have to have relationships with people. So now the drug dealing, I talk about it because it's a cautionary tale. I don't leave the drug dealing part of the book out with any great joy and glory. The drug dealing and the drug using it became disastrous at the end. It killed many of my friends.
Right.
And if there was going to be a reunion in my high school, it would have to be in a cemetery. So it was a disaster. It didn't start out as a disaster. It started out as like a hippy-dippy love affair with pot and ended up in a complete heroin nightmare.
Right.
And it devolved and it got ugly. And I got out of it in time. And then, like I said to my mom in 1972, the good news is I'm done with drugs. No more drugs. The bad news is I think I'm going to become a cross-dressing female impersonating rock musician, which I don't know which one was worse for her. Can you please start using heroin again? Because I don't know if I can handle that other shit.
Oh my God.
So I don't know, but obviously then I took all those experiences and put it in my rock band and had no idea what I was getting into, and then I realized within a couple of years I was in a freaking alcoholic nightmare.
Right.
With just a bunch of alcoholics, and then we got rid of those guys and replaced them with methamphetamine junkies, and it was like, and then I got enough was enough. It was either build a band that was straight or get out of the business because I couldn't handle it. Now the problem is trying to put a straight band together in my business, and it's hard because rock and roll is Keith Richards,
right,
or whatever that implies. So it's not supposed to be that. So to find people who are straight and willing to work hard, that became the challenge.
Right. Chris?
Matt, I remember watching a documentary on Access TV. I think it was like 2 Christmases ago. They played, after the documentary, they played like the Twisted Christmas special that they have. And I didn't realize that you guys did so many like covers and worked as a cover band for so many years while also crafting original material and slotting it in there. Was that a business decision?
Yeah, absolutely was. No, we wanted to make a lot of money, so we were a very good cover band. Once we were established as a good cover band, we started making enormous amounts of money. We never starved, but we took the money, we put it back in the band, and what we did was we just slowly started adding in our own originals as time went on, because the club owners basically don't care as long as the numbers stay up. They don't care what you do. But you can't just start out with originals. You had to have a base, a foundation. So we hired Dee because he could sing Zeppelin perfectly. So we were doing Zeppelin, and Zeppelin, it was Alice Cooper and David Bowie, and that morphed into Priest and AC/DC when they were making. And then if you listen to the way Dee writes these amazing songs, they're kind of like hybrids of AC/DC, Priest, and Alice Cooper for their anthemic, the largeness of their anthemic sounds. So that was the evolution of the band. So by the time the band was signed in '82, we already had 9 years or 10 years on us and thousands of shows played. So the novelty of playing in front of a lot of people, there wasn't any, because the bar scene was unlike any other bar scene in the world. The bars held up to 5,000 people. And so you would regularly play the average club side. By 1978, the average clubs held 1,500 people minimum, up to 5,000. And when you do that 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, after a while, so then we did an outdoor show to 22,000 people in 1979. So we'd already played into massive numbers and already caused riots in clubs. And that was standard operating procedure for who we were and what we did. The documentary, We Are Twisted Fucking Sister, tells that whole story, and then my book just completes the whole picture.
Right.
Of what I went through. And then the book also talks about all of the amazing mistakes we made and how bad, how big we made it and how much we crashed. And then I take the book as a bizwar. It's a business book and a memoir. I coined the phrase myself. It's the world's first bizwar. And I gave it to my publisher. I said, here's a marketing genius move. It's a world first biz war. And I said, I'm going to teach the twisted method of reinvention, which I do. I am hired by corporations to give speeches. I just did one last week in Austin. I talked to a dozen multi-millionaires of companies, worth over $100 million. And they're listening to me. These guys are graduates, college graduates with business degrees. They're listening to a high school dropout, ex-drug dealer, ex-drug addict, musician in a heavy metal band who dropped out of high school. And why? Because the lessons I learned are universal. And the lessons I teach are universal. So I teach the twisted method of reinvention, which is TWISTED, tenacity, wisdom, inspiration, stability, trust, excellence, and discipline. One letter per phrase, and it teaches the whole history of how you can succeed in business by using those tools.
Wow. Ever imagine you'd be here? I mean, starting back on Long Island, 50 years ago, you couldn't imagine you'd be here.
You mean like at this point in my life?
Yeah, like a public speaker, a heavy metal musician. You've conquered pretty much all that stuff.
Well, my daughter is fond of saying that if I could make money talking, I'm going to be the richest person on earth. That was her comment. To which I responded, if you could make money using a cell phone, you'd be the second richest person
right.
on earth.
Right.
Well, no, but nothing. Look, I mean, I wasn't supposed to survive the 60s, and I did. And we weren't supposed to survive the 70s, and we did. And we weren't supposed to survive the 80s, and we did. And then it all came crashing down, and we went bankrupt and lost everything. And then, that's 12 years in the desert with that. And then we come back, and then, the band has this enormous success on the festival circuit in Europe and South America, playing stadiums. And then our songs become the most licensed songs in the history of heavy metal. We're not going to take it, I Want to Rock.
Right.
I don't know if you could predict any of it. But then again, to be fair, if you look at the class of 73 of the quartet of rock bands that came out of 73, Kiss, AC/DC, Twisted Sister, Judas Priest. If you asked any of us at that time, when we were all 20 years old, what do you think life was going to look like in the year 2021? Do you think any of us would have a clue? Seriously?
Right. That's a good point.
There's no way. Nobody would. No one. Kiss, AC/DC, Twisted Sister, Judas Priest. I mean, no. There's no way we could have predicted how the world turned and became what it became so that we could have careers that existed. There's just no way. I mean, I'm smart, and I can foresee a lot of things. I mean, Keith Richards has a famous saying about the difference between him and Mick Jagger. And what he says is that Mick Jagger wakes up every morning and he goes, what am I doing today, 10 days from now, 10 weeks from now, 10 months from now, 10 years from now? Keith says, I get up every morning and I say, I got up this morning.
Right.
So I think you need a Jagger in every band. You need a visionary. Dee was the creative visionary in Twisted. We trusted his vision. I was the business visionary in the band. And I look at Gene and Paul. How smart are those guys?
Yeah.
They're super smart, I have Priest, Rob Halford's a smart cookie. He's a really smart guy, AC/DC was really managed very well. Now all of us have, all of us have been around for 50 years, so there's deaths in all of our bands, or if not deaths, Kiss has band members who've died. Kiss has band members that have been tossed by the wayside because of drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
Same thing happened to Priest. Same thing happened. AC/DC had dementia.
Yep.
What's his face? His brother. He had dementia. I mean, Bon Scott dies of alcohol poisoning. Okay, and in Twisted Sister, we had we've had 8 drummers and 4 of them are dead. It's like Spinal Tap. They all combusted or something.
Right.
I don't know. They're all just kind of like, but AJ's dead, and I mean Richie Teeter died. Joey Markowski died. Billy Steiger, the first guitar player, is dead. I mean, there's that's life, man. That's like a history.
All right. Well, I told Maria I would keep it right around 20, so that's all I've got. Chris, you got anything else?
I don't, man. JJ, I really appreciate you sharing your time with us this afternoon. It's meant the world to me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Listen, I have a podcast which is the JJ French Connection, and it's on Apple and Spotify. And this week I have the 2 producers of the Grateful Dead documentary. And if you want to know how that goes, if you're a Deadhead, you should listen to that because that's great. The book Twisted Business, available on Amazon, is a lot of fun, and I appreciate your support of the book and the projects at Twisted Sister. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much. Hey, before we go, can I get you to do a bumper for me? Just your name and you're listening to
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time.
Hopefully it's not 10 years till we speak again.
Thank you.
Be well.
Take care, man.
Good
Bye-bye.
luck. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.